Mac Minis, iPods, yes, iPods, and the new tech nostalgia. This is MacVoices. MacVoices is supported by MacPaw, the makers of CleanMyMac, your ultimate solution for Mac control and care. Try CleanMyMac for 7 days free, then use the code MacVoices20 for 20% off at cleanmy.com/MacVoices. That's CLNMY.com/MacVoices. This is sort of an update on things on John Prosser and his legal troubles, and the fact that he's continuing to make videos, and it looks like one of the Apple's demands is that he be barred from doing this, along with a bunch of other things. And it looks like apparently they're still in negotiation for how to resolve this. But at the end of the day, he still didn't show up for deposition, and still I think there's a contempt of court charge out there against him. So we'll see how that works. But that, for those of you that might have been following that story, he's not gone. He's not out of the woods by any means. Go ahead, Jeff. You want to?
I'm just thinking either there's something we don't know about this that makes the whole thing make sense, or this guy is just running blind and it's like, I'm going out in a blaze of glory, people, and I'm going to keep adding fuel to the fire so that that blaze is really big.
I agree with your assessment that there's something we don't know, because otherwise this just seems counter to anyone who wants to retain any credibility.
Yeah, and I'm leaning towards that as well.
Yeah, Marty, I think you were saying something.
He's in a hole and he's digging down to get out.
Yeah, well, and we know how well that works out.
Yeah. The next one could have been the top story of the day. I don't know. But Apple apparently is well on the way to being able to produce Mac Minis in the U.S. as part of its investment in the U.S. infrastructure that was promised to the White House. I saw one article that I didn't clip today that said that this plant was already under construction, or at least planned during the days of the Biden administration. So it's not a direct result. But hey, if it serves the purpose, it serves the purpose. I also thought that Jeff, yeah,
maybe
say what you put in our private chat, because I took the exact opposite message from it.
Oh, okay. My take, and I openly admit I can be rather cynical about things at times. I guess this means the Mac Mini isn't that big of a seller. Okay, to back up what I'm saying, or to explain what I'm saying, the production facilities, the production ability in the United States doesn't match what Apple can do in other parts of the world. We just don't have the infrastructure here. Therefore, if Apple's making a device, a computer inside the United States, it's because it's not selling at that high of a volume. We got that with the iMac Pro and the Mac Pro, and they don't make the iMac Pro
wasn't
anymore.
ever made in the U.S., was it?
Yeah, it was made in that plant, I think, in Austin.
The Mac Pro was, but I don't think the iMac Pro was.
They made some of them, at least in the United States. They were bragging about it at one point, but they certainly don't anymore.
Well, because they don't make iMac Pros.
That's fair. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it says that the Mac Pro. I was trying to Google it, and it didn't give me iMac yet. So it was the iPad
So,
Pro made in the US.
unless Apple is just making a subset of Mac Minis in the US, then that
Yeah,
tells me
I don't
this
think
isn't
you
that
could
big
draw
of a
that
seller.
conclusion because they might be making a subset. Because I'm sure there's Mac Minis sold elsewhere in the world. It'd be amazing if they were building them here and exporting them. But
Mhm.
the other thing is the Mac Mini. It's probably pretty simple. Manufacturing process. It's probably fairly susceptible to automation. It doesn't have like all the miniature parts like a phone or a watch, that sort of thing. So, maybe they've just come up with an automated line and, I mean, it's not like, the percentage of manufacturing done in the US is obviously, has gone down and down and down over the last 50 years, but the absolute amount of US manufacturing is actually at a record high. Um, there's a huge amount of manufacturing done here.
Mhm.
So it doesn't seem, that they could build lots of Mac minis. And I'm sure it's not, I mean, the laptops are the big seller in the Mac line, and
Mhm.
and obviously that pales in comparison to iPhones. So you know, but
So according to Gemini, yes, the Apple iMac Pro, specifically the 2017 model, was assembled in the United States um, at a facility in Austin, Texas. So, Eric,
Oh, so the article specifically mentions that this is just U.S. production. So minis for everywhere else are produced elsewhere.
that makes sense.
well, and that's to circle this back. That's what I took it to mean, that sort of a combination of Jim's comments that this is appears to be one of the simpler Macs to put together, but also just that it is selling. I mean, just a couple of weeks ago, we were all extolling the virtues of the Mac Mini and how we all loved it and thought that it was one of the most popular machines out there. So it would kind of make sense that you would ramp up the production, even if it's in a limited capacity, with one of your most popular machines, and maybe one that doesn't have to be retooled
I don't think
frequently.
it's anywhere
Yeah.
near as popular as laptops.
Oh no, no way.
Not even close.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be the most popular computer to wait. I need to start my sentence over because I've got it all Yodified in my head. Okay, loving the Mac Mini and it being a lower seller. Those can coexist. They don't have to be mutually exclusive.
Okay,
Right.
Marty.
Yeah, I was going to say this kind of does something about the tariffs. I mean, if just that line is here in the U.S. and it's being produced for the U.S., it's a way to have to reduce the cost and the pass on to U.S. consumers. So,
And that's
assuming they
probably
can
the
get the
easiest
parts.
line to migrate to the
Yeah.
US. And another question is, what does manufacturing mean? They're definitely not taking silicon and turning it into chips. So the chips aren't being made in the US. Are they populating the board somewhere else and importing boards, and then manufacturing means putting it into the box, or are they just importing chips and populating we don't this doesn't really say what does manufacturing mean. That it's definitely there's all the parts inside of it are coming from outside the United States, and what level of assembly is done before they get put on a boat, we don't know that.
Yeah, I would speculate this is final assembly. And I have no insider information to make that speculation on, but I'm not letting that stop me.
That sounds reasonable to me, but who knows?
Well, I couldn't help but think about. Oh, Eric, sorry.
what else is being made in the factory? Because they had something else there and they added this to it. So isn't this the factory that does the AI servers that Apple's trying to build out?
Yeah, you're right.
Which implies
Which
that,
is a very
you know,
Mac Mini kind of product.
yeah, and it implies that there's some chip manufacturing ability if you don't want to build the chip somewhere else and then you want to bring them in and put them into the servers. Maybe it's not the exact, I don't know, and the Mini maybe not, but the Mini is not using the newest, most complicated chips. There's some delay.
But it's got an M something processor in it, so that's coming from Taiwan for sure.
It doesn't necessarily have to continue though. You know, so you start the product line up, you get all that working, you make sure you can build it, you make sure you can distribute it, and then, you know, because what is the predictor is like 2 years, there's a chance of invasion of Taiwan, and you might not have your factory. So who knows? Maybe there's some side
TSMC
planning
is building facilities
everywhere
in the U.S. So whether they, you know, but
Yeah.
doesn't the Mini has like a M4 in it, doesn't it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Or an M4
TSMC, they have staunchly refused to bring their technology out of Taiwan and put it in other factories for those chips with denser nanometer production. So, like,
Yeah.
if it's like below 4 nanometers, it's made in Taiwan. Period.
Yeah, I'm sure the processes are made in Taiwan, but
Oh,
question
yeah.
is, you know, my question is, are they just importing, you know, pallets of chips and then, you know, they've got the machine that does the, you know, SMB, you know, solder flow here, which they could, or is that being done somewhere and the boards are being imported and then they're just putting them in boxes here? And, you know, a question I have, it kind of interesting, is this an Apple-owned facility? Or is this some contractor? You know, after reading Apple in China, you know, Apple's modus operandi for the, you know, past couple of decades is that they don't own factories. So, but this kind of makes it sound like it's an Apple-owned facility. I don't know.
That's my impression, Jim. And again, remember the obligations to the White House about Apple's investment in the U.S. And so,
right, but they couldn't, you know, Apple's, you know, starting in the 1990s, they started like, you know, getting rid of all their own factories. Like they used to have a factory in Fountain, Colorado. They had one in Ireland that were actually owned, and all the people there were Apple employees. And then they went to this model where, okay, we're, you know, hiring we don't own the factories. We may finance the equipment. We may have our engineers in there, you know, but it's not, you know, we don't own the building. We're not, you know, our name's not on the payroll checks. So this makes it sound like that is what happening, that it is their building and that, you know, they are Apple employees, but it's, you know, I don't know. It's not that specific. So maybe not.
yeah, well,
and, you know, there certainly are third-party companies that do that kind of work here. Not nearly as many as in other parts of the world anymore, but
yeah, well, and times change and Apple strategies have changed. And, you know, certainly
that's why I'm wondering, like, does this indicate a shift?
Yeah. I mean, we're in a world of turmoil right now. So the one other thing, and I know that nobody can put this up just based, you know, in a couple months, but the Mac Minis were selling like hotcakes when OpenClaw came along and people wanted to run this. And so, you know, I don't know if that probably has no relationship. It's probably totally coincidental, but it came to mind.
Yeah, but hotcakes don't sell like iPhones.
No. This edition of Mac Voices is supported by CleanMyMac by MacPaw. If you've ever looked at your Mac storage and thought, where did all my disk space go? You're not alone. Photos, downloads, old projects, hidden caches, it all adds up. But figuring out what's actually taking up space can be frustrating. And with the price of storage space going up and up, you need to make more out of what you already have. That's where the Space Lens feature in CleanMyMac comes in. Space Lens gives you a visual map of your drive. So instead of digging through endless folders, You can instantly see which files and folders are the biggest space hogs. It's like switching from a flashlight to a spotlight. Suddenly, those huge folders, forgotten downloads, and giant video files jump right out at you. For anyone working with media, like photos, audio, or video, that visibility can save a lot of storage and a lot of time. And the best part is that CleanMyMac helps you clean things up safely, without guessing what's safe to remove. The goal isn't just cleaning files, it's keeping your Mac running smoothly so you can stay focused on your work instead of managing your storage. CleanMyMac is notarized by Apple and designed specifically for Mac OS, so it works with your system, not against it. If your Mac is feeling cramped, take a look at what Space Lens reveals. Get tidy today. Try CleanMyMac free for 7 days at cleanmy.com/MacVoices, MacVoices in all caps, and then use the code MacVoices20 in all caps for 20% off at cleanmy.com/MacVoices. That's clnmy.com/MacVoices in all caps, and use the code MacVoices20 in all caps for 20% off. Thanks to CleanMyMac for supporting MacVoices. We're going to take a little trip back in time because it looks like a certain generation is doing that. Gen Z and young adults are embracing iPods again.
Yeah. Do it, man.
I constantly search Amazon to look at trying to find. I have a sentimental feeling about that old hardware, and yeah, I know I can listen to music on the phone all I want, but if they did a redux of some of the old stuff in their 50th year, that would be fun for me.
Marty, serious. I'm not picking on you. I'm very serious. Are you a vinyl person?
No. Well, I mean, I worked in vinyl for not.
But, yeah.
Jeff's going to take that to mean something else.
Yeah.
Yes, Marty.
When I worked in radio, it was all in vinyl. Well, the records were all vinyl. Let's put it that way. I don't want
No
to say
CDs,
it was all
no cassettes yet.
Yeah. We had CDs. CDs came around, but we still did a lot on vinyl at that time. So
Okay.
I wouldn't say I'm a vinyl person now. I'm not too focused on where the sound is coming from or what platform it's coming from.
I look at this and I mean, I was delighted to get away from vinyl because of the fragility of the LP and the inevitable dust that you had to clean off of it. And there still was the rumble and the pops and the clicks. And so when you got that nice, clean CD sound, I mean, even tape with Dolby there were still issues with that. But once we went digital, it's like, why would you ever go back? And so I don't get it. Dave first. Jeff first. Pardon me, Jeff. I'm sorry, Jeff first.
Unless Dave, you want to go first. I feel like I've talked a lot more. Dave, you take it. I'll hop in after you.
Okay.
No, I just made a comment, and you said that we were seriously breaking out the iPod again. I'm tempted as well. I mean, I've got the first gen with the FireWire we all loved, the 500 songs. I was excited to have that, and then I got I think the fifth or sixth gen that there was 160 megabytes. Was it gigabytes? No, gigabytes. That's how flustered I am with that. But yeah, because the first one was 5 gigabytes, and that was exciting when that happened. But it's cool to go back and listen to them and connect them again. Now the FireWire is going to be a little more challenging now. Now Tahoe doesn't support FireWire anymore, but I might crack out my new one of my older laptops and or my Mac Mini for that matter and try it again just to see go down memory lane.
Okay, Jeff.
I have I got over it, but apparently not completely because it's been coming up for me again fairly recently. The whole thing with iPods going to the wayside because everyone used their iPhone for all their music, I really have missed having a dedicated portable music player.
Exactly.
And the iPod product line was fantastic. I I gave my iPod Mini, my iPod Mini to a friend who really needed something for portable music, and I won't say I lament giving it away because it's getting great use and they're super happy, but I miss having that device, and I think I may end up breaking out some of my old iPods at some point and just using them because, man, they are really, really good at what they do.
I just looked up because one of the things that always worried me as I learned more about hard drives was when is my iPod hard drive going to crash? Now the Nano, the Shuffle, and the Touch did not use hard drives. They all used solid state.
Right.
So I would feel a little bit better about that.
Mm-hmm.
But honestly, I have no desire to have to go back and do I get a new album, so I have to rip it or buy it now from the iTunes store. I have no idea how it would handle Apple Music, whether if you have Apple Music as a service, if you could load that onto an iPod. But it was great for its time and it was revolutionary. But now the convenience factor has won out because now I don't have to do any of that jumping around. I can just download it all or stream it all. So I don't, but I also don't get the vinyl thing, this is not my market, but sounds like some of you are.
The vinyl thing to me is different than the iPod thing because the vinyl thing is about the vinyl, and people that are really into vinyl are really into the sound that they get from their albums that are properly mastered for vinyl. And that's okay. I get it. The thing for me with the iPods is that it's about having a music platform that is dedicated to being a music platform. The convenience of all my music is available through my iPhone. That's fine. And it is convenient, but there are times where what I really want is to be able to listen to my music, and the rest of the world can go away. And I just saved you an edit.
Thank you. Thank you. Take note, Jim.
Seriously, I've considered when I'm going out on my daily walks, breaking out one of my iPods. Probably still has playlists on it that I want, that I like to use when I'm out walking or running, and just charging it up and going out with that and leaving my iPhone at home while I go and do that. So I have a complete break.
Yeah, I used to love the Nano. It was smaller than like a stick of gum. I mean, it was like a stick of gum, and it had a little window in it. And sometimes you get album covers, or you get, it was like all I needed in terms of a music experience. I hope Apple helps me spend some money on something like that this year.
Is it time for me to be last yet?
Well, hold on, Chuck. You'll have your minute. Jim, go ahead. Now that apparently it's my show.
I think that I think this story is clickbait, and there's no there. It's like, oh, the reporter's niece is using an iPod or something like that, but this isn't really happening. For one thing, I don't know the exact numbers, but referring back to what I said a minute ago about hotcakes sales versus iPhones, I'm going to guess that all the iPods sold in the whole history of the iPod is probably like 2 weeks of iPhone production. So if every single iPad like got pulled out of the trash and stuck into somebody's pocket. It's still, it wouldn't go very far into, many people being able to use them. So, and I'm with you, Chuck. It was a great device, but it's time it's over. If you don't want to be bothered, by your phone music player, there's this button on the side. It makes it go to sleep. You stick it in your pocket, you're done. And, who wants to worry about like, oh, did I download that, album to my device? Oh no, I don't have the one I wanted. And I love how like now with Apple Music, I can just play an album or a song, like, oh, let's hear this. And then I just let it run and it will like, oh, here, let me play you, another hour of stuff that's, similar to what you just played. And it's like, oh yeah, I haven't listened to that in a long time, which I, never would have done with the other device because it just only had what I put on it. So, I think that, on two levels. One, there just aren't iPods out there, and most of them are dead and in the trash. So even if everybody wanted them, they aren't there. Sure, some people love retro stuff, and there's all these great fun projects. How to resurrect your 128K Mac, and those are great. I love watching those on YouTube. But I sure as heck am not going to go back to programming on a 128K Mac. I did that in 1984. So, it's done. And, I still have my iPods. That's kind of fun to, pick it up and, feel it. It's like a neat object, but, I'm not going to listen to it.
Hey, before we go on with this, I want to welcome Brian Flanigan-Arthurs. I know he was working late, burning the midnight oil, but he made it. Brian, good to have you. Thanks for being here.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. Sorry for being late.
No problem. No problem. Do you have an iPod?
Yeah, I do. Actually, I got one of those iPod shuffles, the gum stick ones.
Nice.
Still have it. I love that thing. It, doubled as a, nice little USB flash drive and rocked out to my music, my podcast back in the day. Loved it.
But would you trade your iPhone for it now?
No way.
Okay.
I don't think any of us would.
I think that's an unfair comparison.
Oh, I know. And I knew somebody would point it out. Thank you, Marty. You didn't disappoint me. So I want to mention Cletus is checking now, but he thinks that the iPod Touch 6th or 7th generation was capable of running iOS, can stream and download songs from Apple Music catalog via Wi-Fi. Older non-Mac iOS models, like the iClassic Nano. So I asked him if he's sure, and he's checking. So
the last model iPod Touch is I think it's end of the line as far as iOS goes. It can go, I think maybe iOS 16 maybe the latest. It won't be current.
That high?
Yeah, maybe 15.
That's not an iPod. It's an iPhone with no cellular chip.
Yeah,
and that actually sounds kind of cool too.
Yeah. Okay. So, well, Jeff, then just get an iPhone and don't sign up for any service, and there's your iPod.
I just think we need to click on that article more and make it come true.
Get an iPad Mini with no, or just buy, an iPhone 12 Mini and don't get a cellular account for it.
Eric, thank you, because I've been waiting to bring that up. So go for it.
You could just put your music in the watch, or get an old watch and put it on your other wrist, and then don't do any cellular on the watch, and it's just an iPod. The little teeny one.
You can also hum.
My humming, that's not a good idea.
Take a metal colander and a spoon and put the colander on your head and hit it a couple of times.
Sometimes I just visualize the music in my head.
Eric, you bring up the film that's making a comeback. I know there are people that thought that it never went away that they were just very much purists, but you make an interesting point there.
Yeah. Well, and this is people who have never used film. They found a box of pictures or whatever and said, oh, this is kind of cool. And they're going out. Like if you have an old, small self-contained film camera, those are hard to get now. They just fly off the shelves because people are getting them, throwing film in it, and evidently still have enough money to get stuff developed. And they seem to like the look of the kind of pixelated, not quite in focus pictures.
Marty?
Well, they're not pixelated.
Yeah, and I'd like Eric's comparison of the two. Having basically done more of my photography from the film side than from the digital side, it's a whole different process when you're shooting film, and you can't dink around with it like you can with digital stuff and make everything look perfect. So there's a real, and if you develop your own film and you do your own exposures in terms of actual film photo stuff, it's a whole different way of cooking.
So
are you going to tell me next that we're going to go back to horses and buggies?
Why not?
That's making a comeback.
Why
Zero
not?
horsepower.
I went to the stock show a few weeks ago. Horse and buggy never went away, man.
Exactly.
Unless you're Amish.
Yeah, I live in Amish country, folks.
Yeah.
Oh man. So 2 points on Eric's comment about the camera. I can't remember who makes it, but Derek Story on his podcast has talked about this desire, especially among some of the younger people, to get these retro style cameras that are taking retro looking photos. And at CES this year, we talked to Rolling Square, who has introduced a camera along these lines, that it's kind of digital, but it's designed to print, and it's more focused on doing the print than it is on taking a digital picture, and it resembles the output resembles more like one of the old Polaroids, which I know from having boxes of them from when I grew up. They're pictures, but they don't even begin to rival what we have now. So this may just all boil down to being, wanting to go back to simpler times.
I'm going to go back to telegraph.
That sounds good.
This phone stuff is, that's a little too fancy. Also, vacuum tubes and rotary dial phones. I miss rotary dial phones.
Yeah.
Especially numbers with 9s in them.
I feel like I need to put my nerd voice on and say, yeah, but when we use the vacuum tubes, imagine how much sweeter and richer the audio sounded. Nah,
the audio was so great using my Macintosh, my amp.
Yeah, well, people say that.
And you have to have the gold-plated cables because...
Oh, yes.
I used to be able to fix my television just by going, pulling some bulbs out of the back of it and going down to Walgreens and testing the bulbs.
I thought you just whack the side of it to get it to work.
Yeah, just kick it. Yeah. That reseat the tubes or something. I don't know.
No, you're thinking of the remote control. It's when your dad would whack you on the side of the
Not a
head
remote
and say,
control,
go change
the
the
clicker.
channel.
You know what I think is going to come back is CRTs. These flat screens.
Oh yeah, there we go.
I don't like them.
Those beasts weigh like 90,000 pounds.
Funny you should say that, Jim. I was having a conversation earlier today about monochrome CRTs.
Oh,
there you go. Yeah, forget
good
color.
times.
Way too.
Yeah,
Wow.
mine was amber.
And also TVs.
Even better.
Remotes. No. I want to walk up to the TV and turn the dial, and also like wiggle the rabbit ear.
Yeah.
Like
That was
no,
good.
stand like that. I miss those
But
days.
now you need a dial this big around. It's like channel 7, channel 9, HBO, Showtime, and Prime, and click, 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 click. Yeah.
You know what I miss? Those test patterns that came on at 1 a.m. with the mute. What's that song? Not the Star Spangled Banner. When the TV went off the air, there was no TV at all from 2 a.m. till 5 a.m.
Brian, CRT TV's the only way to play Nintendo Duck Hunt?
Oh yeah, with those zapper guns from the Nintendo.
Yeah, because you had to have the light reflection.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the old zapper games.
I see in the live chat, Cletus, his monochrome monitor was green. All my friends had the green monitors, and I got the amber, and which turns out I actually liked a lot better. But all my friends wanted to come over to see the amber monitor. So that was just like the craziest thing. You have one that's amber?
Folks, I warned you we were going to take a time travel trip. We just did. I'm going to try to pull us back here to the current day.
Does anybody miss taking a magnet and walking up to the screen and just watching it?
Yeah.
Oh, that was good times.
Wow.
Sorry, Chuck.
I never did that.
Oh,
That's
you
right.
really missed out, Jim.
Yeah.
I wasn't in control to start
You
with,
could
Eric.
really
So
freak out your friends. You know, the first friend that got a color CRT hooked up to their Apple II, and you walk up with a magnet, go woo woo across it, and they freak out.
visit MacVoices.com for show notes and to connect with Chuck on social media. Get involved in our Facebook group or like our Facebook page, and get more out of your Apple tech with MacVoices Magazine, free on Flipboard and on the web. And if you find value in it all, consider supporting us through either our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MacVoices, or by making a one-time donation via the PayPal link on our front page and in the show notes of each episode. You will join these fine people who help bring you Mac Voices. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CacheFly at cachefly.com.